Greetings guys, it's Flight Stretch here, and I figured I'd bring you a video of the Rifter. I wouldn't say this is the regular Rifter you see. You usually see Rifters with a 200 plate and 200 autos. But I forgot those to like basically fit a 400 plate and 150s. The downgrade to 150s does hurt, but the 400 plate like is super nice. We have like 6.5k EHP with the small ANSI. So that gives us a huge tank, man. We're still heading out to like about 9.5k of factions, so most scram characters are still going to be hit. They might just not be taking a lot of DPS, but they'll be getting hit. So yeah, the kind of frigates that give this like a good run for his money is the Breachers and like some Tormentors. I feel like if you run Barrage, you're still going to be a Tormentor, even if it like brings out his scram kite range like what 8 or 9k or whatever. Or Breachers are super hard if they do that. Yeah, since we have such a lack of speed, we're usually going to be range controlled by like everything. Even like incursus, Merlins will potentially be faster than us, so we'll mostly be brawling in blaster range, but the amount of tank we have, as well as DPS, we still usually out-brawl them. You'll see in the next fight, usually it's super close. But basically the idea of the regs was that like a lot of stuff is really fast these days in the Lowsec meta or dual whip, like a lot of range control stuff I feel. So I figured why baller going for speed where we can just like get more tank. It does make it so if people want to escape they can do so because we're like pretty slow. And of course like pretty much everything's going to range control us. So yes, let's move on to the fights. Alright, this first video is against a Breacher. I tend to like to go for Breachers. I always expect them to be dual rep. It can be super crazy if you warp into one and it's a long point when you kind of screw it, especially in this Rifter of his speed. There's not much chance of slingshotting it. But I stick with faction phase plasma in this fight because I'm assuming it's going to be dual rep, right? And I feel like phase is the best way to deal with this. You'll notice Mario makes a very big mistake. He does eventually right it, but I feel like it's too late. He pulls his range out, like, you should be, like, fall off, basically, like, abusing the fact that, like, fall off and stuff, right? So he should be really orbing out to, like, 7 or 8k. But he starts in the fight, like, at 0, I believe. And then he, like, just now, if he started to fight off, like, at this kind of range, he probably would have won. Foreshadowing. It's still super close, but, this Breacher makes that mistake. Yeah, basically staying at 6.5, that's kind of what lost it. But it was still a super good brawl, and you'll also notice the Breacher doesn't do much tanking. We tank him relatively fine, man, especially with like that buffer and the small ancillary rep. We do need to watch our cap, but we can still like pulse it on and off, just make sure that I don't lose scram or web. And just pretty much ease that point. I usually just always keep my AB heated, as well as like usually my guns, but I feel like, yeah, like they're nearly burnt out, so that's like a super close fight. If he pulled his range farther, he probably would have had that, but it's still like a super good fight. Okay, here I have two fights against two different incursuses. This incursus here is a plated small ancillary one, which I wasn't expecting. You'll see basically what I want to do is keep 4k, and I think I'm losing hail on this one actually. Well, the reason being, keep up 4k. I don't think I'm going to actually go out to that range because I'm expecting this actual incursus to be faster. But if, like, the incursus makes a mistake not overheat or something, I could potentially pull out his 4k so that way I'm out of his antimatter and void range. Maybe not quite out of antimatter, but definitely out of void range. That isn't the case, as you'll see, because their armor regs were slower than it, and is able to apply full void DPS. This is still a really close fight, man. It was like a super good little brawl. Eagle-eyed viewers will also notice that I'm running Exile in this one. I think this is the only fight I'll include that has Exile. I was just in a bit of a try-hard mood, and I was like, alright. Let's run some Exile. But even then, this was not enough to like let us win against this incursus. But that's a super good fight. But this next incursus is something I'd be more akin to expecting with like outplay like small anti damage control. I think max stab, and I think he's using a refuge, just for extra armor. As you are, the thing that gives you more speed or a refuge. But anyway. He's going to keep on top of us, but I'm always very confident if he's not like plated, that will usually like out-brawl him. You'll notice that we're like it takes him so long to chew through our armor, and we're still like applying thing. We're punching through his small ancillary, but you will notice, man, this fight's super close. So even against like stuff like this, we can still brawl, but it's still like super scary because we're going to be like getting all of the void and or antimatter DPS. But as always, still like super fun. Alright, this fight's going up against an artillery rifter. I seen him on station, so I'm going into this one barrage, right? So that sort of noise play is going to like scram kite me. So I'm like, alright, we'll stick with barrage. See if we can win this. It's a super close fight, man. Like decent scram kiters will give you a very good run for your money, and this dude is like no exception. Like we started playing like super well, and I'm like, alright, sweet. I feel like we've got this. But then bad things start happening. We get him down to about like half hull. Like basically there's nothing else I can really do here. If I was faster than him, would be orbiting to like Miggy's artillery damage, but it's just not happening. He's getting like some pretty hefty reps. I'm like, Jesus. Definitely at least running Exile, I feel. It might be wrong, but maybe he's just tanking us because of the fall off range. But this is pretty hardcore. But yeah, he's doing like super good DPS if he's artillery, like no problem. I mean, yeah, we eventually end up losing this one, unfortunately. It was still a super good fight, of course. I was expecting like this to be like a lot of an easier fight, but it was not. Alright, this fight's against the Beam Tormentor. I actually went to this fight with Faction. I've been using Barrage a bit more recently, but I feel like Fusion still does the job. He does the right play in keeping out of range. I feel like not far enough though. He should really be about 7 or 8, I feel. But yeah, that's generally the plan of Tormentors, to keep out our, like, make sure that we're shooting out our far fall off. We'll still be hitting, just not as well. We won't be doing nearly enough at near full DPS. But we tend to tank, like, he's actually doing quite a lot of DPS, man, I won't lie. But Minotaur ships have 10% more EM resist, so that sort of helps in this fight, as well as the large buffer, the small ANSI. We've got like a lot of tank towards this Tormentor. And yeah, although being super close, we still pull it off. Alright, this fight's against an Atron. Most Atrons, I just stick my default keep at 4K and use a faction fusion. We're not going to pull range from it, but maybe if like the Atron like does something weird, doesn't activate his AB, it overheats his AB, something weird like this, we'll pull out to 4K and be more out if he's void and antimatter range. Still has a fall off range, so I feel like if he's running antimatter, he'll probably hit us. Void, maybe not so much, but generally that's the call, and then we just DPS him down, and it's usually a pretty easy play. Yeah. Alright, this is a really sick 1v1. This is a new Triston. I don't know going into this, so what I want to do is like approach and then keep at 1k, I feel. So I'm like, basically like, hopefully applying fully with my guns. Since I see the news, I'm like, oh god. I pulled 7.5k so we can get out of their range and switch a barrage. That could have been the wrong call. Faction Fusion might have been a better play, but I feel like barrage, and then the moment I felt like barrage is probably the right call. So yeah, since we're so slow, it takes us a while to get out of his nuke range, and by that time we've like been nuked of all our cap. If we were fully active fit, like we didn't have the plate, this would be a dire situation. But since our guns rely on no cap, and we still have like huge buffer, we still have a chance here. I just need to worry about like my module management. I feel like at this point, we might regen enough cap as we get like a small ANSI charger off, but at this point I'm just relying on my buffer. This Triston's like I think it's a small ANSI, like hull buffer one. You'll notice, man, this is another one of those super down to the wire fights, man. I love fights like this, man. That's like, oh, like if we played it wrong, if we didn't like switch to barrage quick enough, we could have potentially won this. Lost this, sorry. But yeah, eventually we get this Triston, and it's a very good fight. Alright, another super cool 1v1. This against the armor Merlin that I recently done a video on, like the AB, dual whip, scram, small ANSI one. There's like a lot of DPS, and that's that nice range control. But I'm expecting this Merlin to have range control on me at the start. So I keep at 4k, have phase loading, because I don't know. There are still people who run shield Merlins, despite them being weaker, I feel. But yeah, I started reps late. That's a problem that I've been having with this Rifter. I need to be like more on top of the reps. So yeah, Helmy's doing like a lot of DPS, man, especially like with this Merlin, as they'll have no problem keeping the Void optimal. And but we're still chipping away through their small ANSI, getting into their hull. You'll notice, man, there's a 1 void difference in this fight. I love fights like this, like I've mentioned before, sorry. But yeah, they're doing like a lot of DPS. We have the tank, and you'll notice, dude, like we're like 8% hull. Alright, this fight's against the armor Castro. I go in expecting it to be maybe shield, so I think the safer options to stick with faction at the start. I realized I was out far and I'm like, alright, let's just quickly test how good faction is and see if he is shield. So if you shield, I'd probably stick with faction. But I'm like, alright, sweet, his shield's going down really quickly, so I'm like, okay, we need to switch to barrage. With barrage, we have like a 13 kilometers fall off. So be able to apply fang, and we're still doing about 140 TPS. Which isn't great, man. And of course, we wouldn't be applying fully for that. But basically that's our only option at this point to switch to barrage, especially like how far he's like chilling out, which is definitely the right play by the Castro. But yeah, you'll find that most people are running the armor Castro these days, because I feel like the shield Castro is really weak, especially in this meta, because it can only use one web, right? So it won't be able to apply fully with rage. The AB and frigate, so you need to select faction. But with the dual web one, you get like a bunch of tank, and yeah, you're still applying well for rage. You're still doing about the same DPS. But yeah, that's fight. It's basically down to the wire. It was sick. Alright, this is probably one of the hypest fights I've had in a long time, man. I have no business taking this fight. So I go in, initially starting with fusion. I do quickly switch to barrage as if he pulls range, which I was sort of expecting. But this is a dual web AP. I usually run a scram, but this dude's running long point, which is interesting, and I can see it working. But you also find that another fit that people do with Crucified Navies is a TD AB web scram. And I think it's usually pulses. Some probably run beams with it. But yeah, we're tanking pretty well. He pulls out to 10k, and he's not micromanaging his modules well. To be fair, I'm not either. His webs fall off me, and I don't notice it either. So maybe I should have overheated the web to get back on top of him quicker. We're still doing some DPS, not the greatest. You'll notice like our hits are pretty god awful, especially since he's at a super far fall off. But he gets his web back on us. I get a web on him. His web fall off me again, which is weird. I didn't notice at this point. But looking at the footage, I thought he burned out his webs, but he still has his webs. I know he burned out his AB, which I feel like it was his detriment, man. That's what, like, yeah, called the fight. I don't notice it, but I'm approaching. He does eventually put the webs back on me, and I need to orbit. Like, I didn't realize this one going through my mind sooner. I'm like, oh, orbit, beams, bad tracking. We can do this. And yeah, you'll see how close this is. This is another super close fight. We take it. All right, we take it. Cat's out of the bag. I was super happy. This was probably one of the hypest fights I've had in so long. All right, that's a fight I got for you guys, man. Dude, I was talking bad on the Rifter before, not anymore. Like, this fight I feel like does like a lot of work. I'm not too keen on the usual ones, like 200 plate ones. I feel like that isn't as good. Could be wrong. People can like tell me I'm wrong or whatever, but I've had so many good fights in this Rifter, and this is relatively cheap for me. Like, this fits you about 10 mil, well, 11ish, which is quite cheap for a T1 frigate, and your engagement profile is actually quite big, especially if like stuff in like scram range. Kiters you can really watch out for, but yeah, man. I do hope you guys enjoy the videos. I'm not going to commit to like a schedule anymore, because like, yeah, I was going to try and do video a week. That's not happening. Maybe every 2 weeks or something, and I'm not going to call it the next frigate I'll do. I don't know, we'll see. I'll do whatever I want, and well, that's just upload it. So, but yeah, like, I'm super appreciative of your guys' time. Hope you enjoyed the content, and I do hope to see you guys in the next one.